$14 billion. That's what Apple might pay for an AI startup. This would be Apple's biggest acquisition ever, nearly 5 times bigger than their Beats purchase. And here's the kicker. Meta already tried to buy this same company and failed. So why is Apple suddenly so desperate for Perplexity AI? Well, imagine losing $20 billion every single year. That's exactly what Apple faces if their cozy Google deal gets nuked by the courts. And from what we're hearing out of Washington, that's looking more likely every day. Let me break this down for you. Right now, Google pays Apple roughly $20 billion annually just to be the default search engine on your iPhone. $20 billion. That's more than the entire GDP of some countries. It's about 36% of all the money Google makes from Safari searches. For Apple, it's basically pure profit flowing straight to their bottom line. But the Department of Justice just won a massive antitrust case against Google. They're calling Google a monopoly, and one of the big problems is this exact deal with Apple. The feds say it's anti-competitive. They want it gone. And if that happens, Apple doesn't just lose the money, they lose their entire search strategy. Here's where Perplexity comes in. Picture this. You're Tim Cook. You've been collecting Google's checks for years while your own AI efforts stumble. Your fancy new Apple Intelligence features are delayed. Your revamped Siri won't be ready until next spring at the earliest. Meanwhile, everyone's talking about ChatGPT, Claude, and all these AI tools that are changing how people find information online. Now you hear the courts might kill your Google gravy train. What do? You scramble for a backup plan. Perplexity isn't just another search engine. It's what they call an answer engine. Instead of giving you 10 blue links like Google, it uses AI to read the web in real time and give you actual answers with sources. Think of it like having a research assistant who's really good at their job. They're processing about 30 million queries every single day, growing over 20% month over month. The company just raised $500 million at that $14 billion valuation I mentioned. They've got investors like Jeff Bezos and NVIDIA backing them. They're not some garage startup anymore. This is serious business. But here's what makes this story even more interesting. Apple executives haven't even talked to Perplexity's management about buying them yet. Adrian Perica, Apple's mergers and acquisitions chief, has been discussing it internally with Eddie Q and their AI leadership team. They're basically window shopping, figuring out if this makes sense before they make a move. And they're not the only ones circling. Remember when I said Meta tried to buy Perplexity? They couldn't close the deal, so instead, they went and bought 49% of Scale AI for over $14 billion. Meta's building what they call a super intelligence team. They're even trying to poach some of the same AI talent Apple wants. There's this guy, Daniel Gross, who co-founded an AI company called Safe Superintelligence. Both Apple and Meta are fighting over him right now. Apple actually bought one of his previous startups back in 2013, which helped form some of the early AI features in iOS. Small world, right? But wait, it gets messier. Samsung, Apple's biggest smartphone rival, is about to announce their own deep partnership with Perplexity. So if Apple wants to buy them, they might have to outbid or outmaneuver Samsung too. The timing here is everything. Apple's waiting to see what happens with the Google antitrust trial before making any big moves. The trial's remedy phase just wrapped up closing arguments, and the judge won't decide until August. Apple even tried to join the trial to defend their Google deal, but the court said they waited too long. They can submit written testimony, but they can't present evidence or cross-examine witnesses. What's fascinating is that Apple has zero interest in building their own search engine from scratch. They've made that crystal clear. It's too expensive, too complicated, and frankly, not their thing. But they need something. Safari users need a way to search the web, and if Google's payments become illegal, Apple needs a plan B that doesn't involve giving away prime real estate for free. There's another option on the table, too. Instead of buying Perplexity outright, Apple could just partner with them. Add Perplexity as a search option in Safari, integrate it with Siri, maybe share some revenue. It's less risky than a $14 billion acquisition, but it also gives Apple less control. The Perplexity team seems confident either way. When asked about all this acquisition talk, they basically said it shouldn't be surprising that major manufacturers want to offer the best search and most accurate AI to their users. Pretty smooth response, if you ask me. This whole situation shows just how much the tech landscape is shifting. 5 years ago, search was search. Google dominated, everyone else played along, and that was that. Now, AI is rewriting the rules. Users don't just want links anymore. They want answers, summaries, analysis. They want their devices to understand questions and provide real help. Perplexity gets this. They're not trying to beat Google at Google's game. They're playing a different game entirely. And that might be exactly what Apple needs. Think about what this means for you as an iPhone user. Right now, when you search for something in Safari, you get Google results because that's what Apple set as default. But imagine if your searches were powered by AI that could understand context, pull from multiple sources, and give you actual answers instead of making you click through websites. That's the promise here. Of course, Perplexity isn't perfect. Users have complained about limited context windows, which means it sometimes forgets earlier parts of long conversations. Their Spaces feature for creating custom AI environments sounds great in theory, but has poor onboarding. Some security researchers even found vulnerabilities in how they handle uploaded images. Plus, there's the whole copyright controversy. Media companies like the New York Times and BBC have accused Perplexity of scraping their content without permission. There are ongoing lawsuits about this. It's messy, and Apple typically doesn't like messy. But desperate times, right? Apple's behind in AI. They know it, we know it, everyone knows it. While Google and OpenAI push boundaries, Apple's still trying to make Siri understand basic commands. Buying Perplexity would give them instant credibility in AI search, plus hundreds of talented engineers who know how to build these systems. The $14 billion price tag sounds huge, and it is. But consider this. Apple has over $60 billion in cash and cash equivalents. They can afford it. The question is whether they think it's worth it. Is Perplexity the answer to their AI prayers, or just an expensive Band-Aid? My take? Apple's going to wait until after the August ruling on Google's remedies. If the judge says the Google deal can continue with some tweaks, Apple might just stick with the status quo. But if that $20 billion annual payment gets cut off, expect Apple to move fast. They can't afford to leave Safari without a quality search option, and they definitely can't afford to fall further behind in AI. The irony is that Google's antitrust loss might force Apple to finally get serious about AI. Sometimes it takes losing $20 billion to find your next big opportunity. What do you think? Is Perplexity worth $14 billion to Apple, or should they build their own solution? Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.